Welcome to the Rusted Garden Homestead. Today's sponsor for Friday Morning Ramblings is finally the Modern Homestead Garden. Thank you so much for your support. The book is being released on April 13th. Sorry for the delays, but there were shipping container issues in California due to COVID. Anyway, I just got my author copies. The book is going to be coming out, and I just want to show you something cool. This is obviously live, and here's a picture in the book, and it's titled Start Small and Learn, which is what we're going to talk about today. You don't have to know everything about vegetable gardening before you start. Really, just pick something small, containers, your deck, patio, little garden plot, and get started. So I have a lot going on today. Getting my vertical tower set up, opening up more beds. I wanted to just show you this section over here. So I consolidated all my kind of seed starting and early crop apparatus to one space behind the shed so you can't really see it. Mulched it down. The cold frame way in the back there was the one that was over on the left that I talked about moving. So this is where I'm acclimating and growing a lot of cool weather crops, and some of the warm crops will go out here. So this design, actually, I hate getting my shadow in there. So this design actually I haven't shot a video on, but it's a frame that looks like that. That little T-post in the middle holds two pieces of the polycarbonate together, which makes for a really nice tunnel. Those are all cool weather crops. They're doing well. We've had frost a couple times this week. This protects them. They can take a frost. For this type of tunnel, even any of them really, you want to make sure that they vent during the day, because it's going to be 60 today. Without taking the side off, it will get up to 80-90 degrees in there. It will cause your plants to dry out quickly, die off, messes them up. So make sure, as much as you protect them at night, you remove the sides or you vent them during the day, because a 55, 60, 65 degree day, full sun like today, will cook your plants. Over here, this is a great way to save money, is I'm using these containers. These were 5 cents, the ones I got at Home Depot that I've talked about. These have all the different perennial bulbs that you find at Home Depot, Lowe's. This is liatris. Basically fill the container halfway, drop the bulb in, cover it up, and just sit them out here. They will take off. Rather than paying $4, $5, $6, even $9 or $10 for a gallon perennial plant, you can kind of grow them yourself, and it really works. And the smaller ones, I put seeds in, bachelor button. These are columbines. But you can see that I'm going to be adding a lot of perennial flowers. Perennial flowers will bring in butterflies, bring in pollinators, beneficial insects, all of that. Now, I'm talking about starting small. If you're just getting started, this is a large garden. You don't need to start like that. You can actually grow in just flower boxes. Strawberries do well in here. Lettuce does well in here. I grow radishes in here all the time. Let's go inside. I'll show you some of the different setups too as I'm talking about things. This is my vertical tower. This is in the Rusted Garden color. They are sold out. Hopefully you got one. But I'm going to be replacing some of the towers over there with this new color. Those towers will still be used in different places. Vertical gardening is a great way to save space. It's something you can do too if you're just getting started. Before we get over there, soil or a container mix refreshing. You don't need to throw away your old container soil. Save yourself some money, just refresh it. Container soil is probably good for about 2 years. You can refresh it every year if you want to, or every 2 or 3 years. Basically, the organic matter gets used up, the soil gets compacted, so you want to refresh it with organic matter. So for instance, I would just throw a tarp down here, throw in that container 1, 2, 3, just dump it. Then mixed into there, I would fill another container, same size, with peat, cocoa coir, compost, whatever amendments you want to use that are going to add organic matter. Fill up the same size container, dump it in, so it's kind of like a 3-to-1 ratio. Mix it through, throw in some handfuls of organic granular fertilizer if you want, refill your containers, and now you have more for a 4th container. So you can kind of just expand on the quality of the soil just by refreshing it each year. You don't have to put in the granular fertilizer. Again, I'll do a video on this, but fill it halfway, 1 or 2 handfuls of granular, mix it through, fill it to the top, 1 or 2 handfuls of granular, mix it through. You're set up for your container soil. Here's my other space for my cold frames. These are more expensive. I have different plants in there. I'll be acclimating plants, growing plants, but again, this whole space now is really my seed starting space, and that's what I wanted to do, was kind of put it all into one location so that I don't have to be walking all over the garden. If you are, again, just getting started, you could, obviously you wouldn't be growing cold frames, but you could do 2 4x8 beds. If you have a little porch or container, or porch or patio, you can do a container garden. These are the vertical towers. These are going to be switched out for the new color, and those will, actually they may stay here, we'll see. But my garden is always in flux, always in design, and that's part of the fun. Alright, so coming over here, you can see all the different beds. I don't want you to get overwhelmed if you're just starting. As we walk around, you could just pick, you know, a bed like this. That is cattle panel, create a trellis. You could grow cucumbers up it, peppers on this side, tomatoes on this side, but your garden could just be this little space. You give it a try and you see how it goes. If you like it, you add to it, you build up over the years, you know, but get started. Start small, enjoy yourself. You're going to be able to grow something. Something's going to work. For myself, I'll be really today taking these beds, getting them set up, taking off any tarps, putting down any other organic fertilizers I might be using. The alfalfa already went down, maybe some compost. But it's a day, 65 degrees, beautiful, that I'm going to be setting up the rest of these beds. These are the polytunnels that I built out of the polycarbonate, or you can use plastic. These are heating up the soil right now. I don't have anything growing in there, but I will be planting. Let me walk over, show you how well these work, because it's pretty cool. Also, for my vertical tower from Greenstalk Garden, which check out the description, I am affiliated with them and you can get a discount. These are wonderful vertical garden containers. You can really pack a lot in there. I'll be doing a video on that this week too. But these were all stacked together, 5 high. I'm going to refresh that container soil. So I take them apart. They come apart real easy, drop them down, and I let these defrost over the last 7 to 10 days because sometimes they do freeze through. I'll find whatever plants are perennials and coming back, pull them out, but all the soil will be refreshed and it will be reassembled to 5-tier tower. And you can use the discount code in the video description, save yourself some money. Alright, let's go over to where I'm growing some radishes. I just wanted to cut in and thank everybody again. This book only got written because of all of you. I have so much fun sharing my garden through video with all of you and really responding to your comments and listening to what you've been doing. You know, it's what I love to do every day. The book is for beginners, lots of stuff I've talked about in videos, but it should really help, I hope, get people on the right track to find a passion in vegetable gardening and have a productive garden. You don't need to learn everything right away. This book will help, help you get through beginning to end with vegetable gardening. But again, this would not be here today if it wasn't for everybody's support, and I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Thank you. So using the plastic or the polycarbonate to create kind of a mini hothouse just above the soil or lightly domed really, really works. So the same exact plantings are here as are here, and they went in on 3-3. I have radishes, peas to the left, and I think spinach in the back. So it's been, 18 days. These have not been covered, and you can see how the growth is. Over here, except for when it came time for watering, I have a piece of the polycarbonate across here. I just happened to design my beds in different places that fit the dimensions of the polycarbonate. And most of these are 26 inches wide, I think 6 feet long. But look at the difference in growth. Oh, fungus gnats. So I'm going to leave this off for a while. Let them blow away in the wind. Fungus gnats outside are not such a big issue because nature will take care of them. They're hatching, obviously. So they will just kind of get blown around, disappear, etc., etc. But look how well the radishes are growing. They're going to have to be thinned down to 1. The spinach is up in the back. All the peas are up. And it's just because I'm using a piece of plastic on top. And then just to take a look over here again, the radishes are a lot smaller. The peas are just starting to come up, and so is the spinach. But you can see the difference of how much more quickly I will get radishes, peas, and spinach to the table using the plastic. Once they get taller, I will have moved out from the more frequent frosts and cold days, and I can just remove the plastic. And you can see last night the frost came again. There's ice sitting right on top of there. Don't have anything planted in there yet, but that soil's really warm. Again, it's probably at that 50 degrees that I talk about, where you want the top 4 to 6 inches to be warm so your plants thrive when you put them out there. Back there, some more plastic was dropped. I'm warming up those beds. That's probably where my ginger's gonna go. They don't like full sun. They like a lot of sun, but they don't want that midsummer sun beating down on them. So right in there I have asparagus. That will grow up, shade that off, and I think the I think the ginger will grow really, really well there. My containers that I've been growing in since I moved over to this property, they will be getting 2 pepper plants in there. And again, taking a look at the book, you can see that I have a lot of pictures from the garden, and I go over the sunken container build. There's some growth. I grew kale in there actually last year. Also cover soil amendments, all the different kind of ways that I talk about saving money, amending your soil, creating container mix, and all that kind of stuff I go over in the book. It's great for beginners, you know, if you just got started. I'll be doing a full series going chapter by chapter in this book on my other YouTube channel, My First Vegetable Garden. So I will put a link into there in case you want to follow it. And again, thank you so much for being patient with the book and the delays, but 4/13 is when it will be shipping out to everybody. So I'm kind of excited for this whole space, imagining what it's going to look like, and I recommend you do that. Best way to kind of have fun as spring is coming in is just to go out in your garden, walk around, think about how you want to change it up. I've already talked about the trellising last time, but imagine what will be growing in there and kind of visualize the design you want to make. Let's go over to one more place where I have plastic down, show you the growth. In the containers here, I'll also be doing a trellising video. I actually went to Home Depot, showed you where you can find this builder mesh. It's only like $4 for like a 12-foot piece. Be going over designs on trellises probably this week. Planted spinach and peas into these containers. They were put in on 332. They're still not up yet. Actually, they're breaking the surfaces. That's a little radish there on the bottom left. So the plastic makes a huge difference. Let's go over here one more. This is 2 pieces of plastic because the bed was too wide. The plastic is really light, so you want to weigh it down with something, or it is going to flip up when the wind blows. Nice way to water everything. Now, these were started on 3.3. Also, not as big as the other ones that were started on 3.3.2. You can see the ice back there in the corner. Problem with this one is before I really weighed it down enough, it kept blowing off. So at night, it would blow off. This would freeze up, frost across the top, so the plants aren't as big. But even so, you can see that they're all sprouting nicely, and I can see the peas starting to peek out. You just want to make sure when you start using this that it stays on the space that you're growing the seeds early in through the night. So make sure you weigh it down extra if you need to. So you can use the plastic, great way to get things started earlier. One more space, and the reason I'm showing you these is because we all get eager to start growing early. This is where the old cold frame was. I just picked it up and moved it. I'm gonna have to turn this into something. So we all want to get growing as soon as we can, and why not do it in a way that's actually going to be really productive? I'm going to take this whole thing off, and under here you can see weeds along with all the radishes that are coming. Now this one is in the ground, so the ground is a little bit colder than the raised bed boxes. The raised bed soil warms up more quickly. The colder temperatures are more held in the soil through here, so it takes a little bit longer for this to start warming up, and that's why these are a little bit behind, but they're sprouting perfectly well. This is all going to be cleaned up, cleared out. Whatever is not going to leaf or bloom and give me something to eat, it's going to be all, pulled out of here. I know I mentioned this before, but this is actually a small space that's just being protected with string and bells, and that's enough to keep the deer from poking in and walking all the way into here. So you can set up some fencing, some protection for a little bit of money. It's just maybe $5 a post, cost of the string and the bells. You don't need to put up a gate or anything like this. You can just set it up so that you can squeeze in through the string. But you can get protection if you have a place and you're worried about deer, you don't want to spend a fortune on the fence. Try something like this to start, see how it goes. The compost is starting to warm up. I took the covers off of some of it, letting that start to warm up, dry out a little bit. As soon as I cut the grass, I'll be dropping in the green grass in here, taking materials from there, some leaves, and getting compost started. I've been using this, my point, what was it? Yes, so this is not fully broken down. We're going to walk back over to a section that I'm building, and I think we'll end the video there. I use this as the bottom third fill for a couple of my raised bed containers. This is not quality compost yet, it's still breaking down, but it's perfectly good to fill the bottom third of a large sided raised bed. That will break down in there, that will hold water, it's not going to bother the plants that are growing above it. And I filled the bed cheaply because this pretty much cost me nothing because I collected the compost myself. So when you're filling large-sided raised beds, remember it's the top 4, 6, 8, 10 inches at most of the soil that you want to be quality. That's what the plants really thrive off of. And that's why when you do a no-dig garden like this one, you're really putting down 4 to 6 inches of compost, maybe a little bit more, on top of cardboard, right across any space really. And your plants live off of that top 6 or 8 inches. So when you're filling your raised beds, you don't have to spend a fortune filling them from the bottom all the way up. You can use the compost that's not fully broken down that I just showed you. Wood chips, leaves, branches, all kinds of different things in the bottom. Okay stuff in the middle and the quality stuff on top. You'll save yourself a fortune. So my brother and I are going to be doing a series on the other channel, growing in root pouches. I sell all these at the seed shop. Those are 100 gallons back there. We're going to be growing tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers out of them. There used to be a raised bed here that was pretty tall. I moved that and donated it to somebody. This is all going to be a container garden. We're going to do a full series. He's going to be growing in New York. I'm going to be growing here, and we're going to fully populate this with every plant that you can think of. So that's just getting up and going if you want to follow along. Using this tunnel over here, I did drop in, I'm not going to open that up, it'll be difficult, but there's a couple cabbages and broccolis in there. When you're using something like this, it heats up tremendously. So your cool weather plants, I got some on the left, make sure you leave one flap open, even if the frost is coming in, because they can take a frost. If it gets too hot in there, the growth rate of the plants are going to accelerate. In some cases, they may get a little bit lanky. Some plants may want to flower if you're growing lettuces in there or something like that, because as soon as the soil temperature gets too high, lettuces go to flower, they want to bolt, they want to drop seed. So just be wise in not letting that space overheat. You're better to err on cold and frost with the cool weather crops, in my opinion, than you are to overheat them to 80, 90 degrees for prolonged periods. The onions are in. I did a video on there. I will link that in case you missed it. So these were all the seed start onions that I did indoors. Trimmed them, planted them. And in here I'm going to have tomatoes across here. These onions will do perfectly fine because the light comes in this way. So when you're designing your garden, you can put tall plants in a place where the shade is actually going to cast that way or this way for a while. So the lower growing onions will do really well in there. I might even put some tiny Tims along the bottom where I haven't already put onions so that they're getting the sun coming in. They grow quickly. I'll get early cherry type tomatoes, and then the bigger plants will have time to grow and mature. So you can be kind of thinking of the strategy. It's earlier morning, so my sun is over there. Shadows are coming this way, and then my sun tracks all the way around here. Know your sun. That's also in the book. It talks about understanding how your sun moves. And then you can plant accordingly. Then my sun hangs out there for the southern exposure. So I know that the light will come in between all these rows and hit most of my plants. So I sort of maximized how my sun tracks and where it sits later in the afternoon so that the plants get a maximum amount of sun, if that makes sense. So spring, we're all excited. We want to get stuff growing. Certainly try out the pieces of plastic or the polycarbonate. Plastic PVC is a little bit cheaper than the polycarbonate if you're on a budget. But you can just see, when done right, how much more quickly your seeds will sprout and get started. There's all cool weather crops. There's no frost for this week. I may leave that off, and we'll see how it goes. Thanks so much for watching. Very excited for 2021. All the information I talked about in today's video will be in the video description, and I hope you guys are off to a great start. Potatoes will be planted this week. I'll be doing videos on that. I encourage you to experiment, try different things. You know, the worst case is you fail, but you still get a 50% harvest off of your failures. Your garden wants to give, your plants are going to grow, they're going to give something back to you. Thanks so much for watching, and please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com.